Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to download some stuff. So you need to download IntelliJ, the Community Edition, 2 MySQL things, the workbench and the server, and Postman. Okay, if you've never used these softwares before, I will provide links in the description. This is the IntelliJ website. Do not get the Ultimate. This is a paid version. Scroll down to the Community Edition. This is the MySQL Workbench website. This is the actual graphical user interface that we'll be using. You also need to download MySQL Server. This is the thing that actually runs on your machine. And download Postman. Okay, once you download it, this is what they look like. This is IntelliJ. This is our MySQL Workbench. And to determine if the server is running, you're going to go to System Settings. You're going to scroll all the way down. You're going to see MySQL, and you can see our active instance and what version is installed. You can stop. This is the actual server, so you can stop it, start it, and I always have it start when your computer starts up. This is not the GUI. This is the actual server. And last but not least, this is Postman. Okay, now that we have the software installed, make your way over to the Spring Initializr website, start.spring.io, and this is going to help us set up our project. So we're going to choose Maven for our project, Java, choose the latest stable version, meaning not a snapshot. For me, it's 3.1.4. It might be a different number for you. We're going to change this to no BS Spring Boot, and we're going to add some dependencies. So like we said, we're going to use Lombok, Spring Web, Spring Data JPA, and Spring Data JDBC. We might add some stuff later, but this will get us started. Once we have all of that, make sure it's a jar file, and we're going to use Java 17. Go ahead and click Generate, and I'm going to put this on my desktop. Okay, let's take stock of where we are. We completed steps 1 and 2. We are now going to import our project to IntelliJ and then connect MySQL Server. We have our demo.zip on the desktop. We're going to unzip this file, and we get a folder. I'm going to rename it. And then we're going to import it to IntelliJ. The way you do that is you can just drag and drop. It's going to take a few minutes to import. So first things first, let's look at our pom.xml file. These include all of the things that we included when we did our Initializr website setup. So data JDBC, starter web, Lombok, etc. There is one dependency we will have to add manually. So copy paste this. We have MySQL, MySQL connector Java, and my version is 8.0.33. You need to Google and see what the most recent version for you is. This might be a different number. Anytime you change a dependency, you'll get this little icon, Load Maven Changes, and you will need to ensure that you click it and refresh. Okay, our next step is to open our properties file. So go to Main, Resources, Application.properties. In here, we're going to have to add a couple of things. spring.datasource.url equals jdbc://localhost:3306/nobs. This is what we're going to have to set up with MySQL. Next, spring.datasource.username equals, we'll come back to this, spring.datasource.password equals, and then lastly, spring.datasource.driver-class-name equals com.mysql.cj.jdbc.Driver. These are the things that connect IntelliJ to MySQL Server. Okay, so now open up MySQL Workbench. I already have a connection here, but we're going to create a new one. So we click this button. Our connection name is going to be nobs. Username, I'm going to keep it as root. This is what we need to plug into IntelliJ. And then choose whatever password you want. Click OK. Then to make sure you did it correctly, you need to come down and click Test Connection. And if successful, you'll get this nice message. Notice the port number is 3306. That is the default for MySQL, and that's what we put in IntelliJ as well. Click OK, and click OK. You then have a new one. If it's your first one, it'll just show up right here. We now need to take this information and go back to IntelliJ. So that username and password, you need to put in here. I'm not going to show mine. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is actually create our database. So we're going to go into our connection, nobs, and you need to run this query. Create database nobs with a semicolon. Click this little lightning bolt which runs it, and you should see a little green check mark saying that your database has been created. Okay, so at this point we should have everything we need to launch our project. So go to go to source, main, Java, then go to our nobs Spring Boot application, and let's just put a print line statement in here to make sure things are working. We can then click run, or we can right click and click run our main method. You might see this requires annotation processing for Lombok. If you see that, go ahead and enable it. And if successful, you'll see a bunch of stuff load and no errors. If we scroll up, we have our hello world printed out. Congratulations, you just ran your first Spring Boot app, and now we can actually get started. Okay, just an editor's note. Sometimes things don't always go smoothly, and when you run it for the first time, you might run into some error, and you don't know what to do. I strongly suggest taking this error, just the first couple of lines, and feeding it to ChatGPT, for example. 9 times out of 10, it'll give you the correct answer. Okay,